So first I'd like to begin with prayer. Dear Lord, thank you for the blessings of all the blessings that you give us here at Immanuel and in Liberia. And we thank you for the opportunity that we get to go there and we get to share and get to know and connect with our fellow Christians, fellow Lutherans in Liberia. What a blessing for us. And so we ask you to speak through us today as we share what you are doing there. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, I'm so excited. For those of you who don't know Joe Boway, this is Joe. Joe is the founder and superintendent of the Lutheran schools in Liberia. They are in the rural jungle areas, and he's going to share a little bit more about that, and we'll be sharing then specifically what we were doing there. But it's always such a joy and a privilege to have Joe. Joe's from Liberia, but he now lives with his family in Fort Wayne, but goes back to Liberia multiple times through the year for long periods of time to help run the schools that are there. So I'm going to let Joe's going to go ahead and get started and share more about Liberian Children's Ministry.
Thank you, Judy. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, thank you for these wonderful women that you gave us to go and serve in Liberia. Liberia is a little tiny country in West Africa, and about 80% unemployment rate, and 1.5 million people live in the city, and most of those people are not working. So the country is
I'm sorry, just so they can see what.
Oh, yeah. So we had a civil war that took place from 1989 to 2003. 15 years of civil war that killed lots of people, over 250,000 people, and that's how God brought me in this country to go to college. And then after college, I worked for Lutheran Bible translator for 9 years, and God took me back to Africa. We started a Liberian Children Ministry. It's a school ministry, and we work with Lutheran churches in rural Liberia to build schools for those churches. And for 22 years now, we've been doing this with 15 Lutheran grade schools, close to 7,000 children. And most of these children come from home where their moms and dads don't know Jesus. So they come to school and they learn about Jesus. And one of the things we do is most of these children are baptized each year. Last year, 2025, there were 360 plus children baptized. The year before that was 450 plus. Just this gone Easter Sunday, 24 children and their parents were baptized on Easter Sunday. So Judy and the rest of the crew will find out when we go in June, there'll be some baptism that will take place because we have a pastor that is going with us, and the children want that pastor to baptize them. Immanuel Lutheran has been a great part of this ministry, and we want to say thank you. You help build a school, you give funding, you give a tithe during the year to Liberian Children Ministry, and it's helping to follow this ministry. Liberia is West Africa. Like I said, it's a tiny little country. It's about the size of the state of Tennessee with 5, almost 6 billion people living in Liberia now. And there are over 17, 18 different dialects. And those dialects are in the rural area. And that's why we have our schools in the jungle. Monrovia, the capital, have almost 1.5 million people. And this is the airport getting in and out of Monrovia. So with the rest of the crew, team would give you more information, but that's a little information about Liberia and the Liberian Children Ministry. Judy.
So the first destination, or I should say where we land, is Monrovia, which is the capital city of Liberia. And it is chaos in the best way, in the most fun, exciting way. Lots of people, just like Joe said, the airport is usually nuts, feels a little bit like a mosh pit. So you can imagine at 10 o'clock at night, you get in and you gotta find your suitcases and keep everyone together, not get lost, not get pulled away, but it's an adventure. So these photos here are the next day, which we kind of just consider a chill day, I guess we'll say. Kind of recuperate from the jet lag and, you know, take a look at the culture. We love driving around, going to the dress shop. I don't think there are any videos here. Oh, this guy. Perfect, here we go. One of our favorite spots here, you can see Rachel here at the dress shop, and we have a regular dress guy that we usually go to. So she's picking out fabric, and they've got tons of pieces. I think almost all of us have a piece from this dress shop, so they are so much fun. And then we also like to go to this artisan market where we get lots of our souvenirs for you guys that we bring back. But it's amazing, lots of local artists who make incredible things out of incredible things. And just about anything you could want to find, you could find there. I found actually a painting from an artist that I remembered from the first time I had gone to Liberia. So I was super excited about that. But one of the most fun things, while we were waiting or walking around this artisan market, we get this lovely swarm. And no, those are not birds. They are in fact bats, African bats. So you can see they're quite close. And they're kind of swarming around before they eventually settle into one of the big trees that's right by where we are. Did you get pooped on?
Yeah, one poop.
I think one pooped on Rachel. We're gonna go with the bird thing and say that it's good luck. But yeah, incredible. I don't know where in the U.S. you would see this, but it was right there, so it's a little jarring. But another of our favorite spots, I would say Judy and I, having gone a few times, is the National Museum of Liberia. This was my third time going. I learn something new every time that I go. And it's, I think, especially helpful for the newcomers because it gives you a really great overview of the history of Liberia, which is not super well known to us Americans. But incredibly integrated with us Americans. Liberia was the first sovereign country in Africa, and it was primarily settled by former slaves from the US. So there's a tremendous amount of information we get to see here about the indigenous tribes, but also then going into that history of, the people who came over on the Elizabeth, and I'm trying to think of the island.
Oh, Providence?
Providence Island, and landed on Providence Island. It's an incredible story. And as Judy will attest to this, every time we go, we see something new or do something new. There's always something new that we get to experience. And for this trip, it was this area called Unification Square. And Unification Square, now it's sort of a recreational area. There are different places or different areas to play soccer. There's workout equipment, all sorts of, it's a huge area, but it is also the site of a very bloody coup that happened in 1980 when Samuel Doe, who then after this coup became the president of Liberia, but eventually led into the first civil war of Liberia. So this is kind of a site where a lot of things happened that sort of set that off. But incredible, beautiful spot. And I love that they are taking parts of their history and not forgetting about it and trying to remember it and give respect where respect is due. And we have a great crew here. Obviously you can see all of us, but we've also got,
No, it's not.
oh, there we go. So this is our friend Frederick, who is actually Joe's brother. So he does a lot of carting us around, as well as, if I can Lawrence, another good friend. So yeah, we got to see a lot of good things. We get to go to the museum with them. They'll add in extra points for us, which is always even more fun. Sometimes you have a guide who will tell you, but so much history and so much culture that we kind of jam into a couple of days. So it's a really delight to get to go back again, and there's so much more that you can learn every single time. I think you wanna.
Okay, thanks. All right. Okay. So it's this. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the flight that we take on the Cessna. It's a very interesting experience. I'd never experienced anything like it. It was really cool because it's a really small plane. Like you can literally see like how big it is compared to us. And it's a little unsettling seeing the pilot and hearing all the beeps and the things that they're doing. I was like, I'd rather not see that. So it's an experience, but it's really cool also because it's kind of like your own little like private, like there's a few other people on it, but it's like a little private, like you're seeing like how beautiful the country is like from above. It's really, really cool. And the landing field stuck out to me because it's this giant field, like where the planes take off and land, but it's just a field. So like kids are doing PE class on it. People are driving their bikes, like their motorbikes, like back and forth through it. And when a plane is about to land, when we come down, this guy with a vest comes out with a stick and he's like, get off. And like everyone like scatters off, the plane lands, and then they all come back and they resume their PE class or whatever. So it's just like cool to see like that type of community there. There's like, it's not that serious. It's just a field. We can still use it, which obviously in the U.S. it's a little different. But we also got to go to the VIP lounge, which was very fun. The nice room with all the couches. That was cute. So yeah, and all the our friends came to wave goodbye. I don't know. Oops. I don't know if that's in this photo, but in that one. They came to say goodbye to us one day, which was very sweet. So this is just the views of what we saw when we were up there, because we went a little further than we typically do, because they like drop a few people off. So we got to see like a lot more of Liberia than you ever have, right, Mom?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we got to see like the coast. Like we went like all over. And then are those palms? Those are palms. Yeah. Palm trees farm. Yeah. So it was really cool to see it from. You can see it in that like. It was a very like geometric pattern. Like clearly it was very like thought through. So that was just all of that was so amazing to see from above. This is our hotel. That was really cool. Really great accommodation. Just some things are a little different than how they are here, of course. One thing being that like I think our mattresses were just box springs, which is a little uncomfortable, but like you make do, like you make it work, and like it's better than nothing. But and then I realized that like we were always talking about that, but Liz wasn't, and then we were like, yeah, and then we were like, she was like, I have a mattress, and we're like, well, okay, we don't.
Very hard. Yeah.
But very funny. We realized that she was like, I don't think mine's a box spring. And then we also got to spend so much time with Pastor Boway, the pastor there who we work with. He's so sweet, and it was so fun to just like see his house, and like there's always a soccer game on the TV in the back, which I loved watching. And they would cook us meals. Like they were just so sweet and so hospitable. Apparently they have different locks in Liberia. So I go to the bathroom, I lock the door, which you're apparently not supposed to do. God forbid I use the lock in the bathroom. And so I go to the bathroom, I lock the door, and then I realize I can't get out. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm in a different country. We speak the same language, but very different dialects. So it is hard to understand. So I'm like knocking on the door, I'm like banging on the door for someone to come get me out. And people are trying to like unlock it from the other side. not working. And then the pastor is like asking my mom, like, is she decent? Is she decent? He comes to the window and it's a very, very small window. So he's like coaching me through how to unlock this door. It was so funny. I did eventually get out, clearly, but it was stressful. But he's like speaking in such like thick Liberian English, and I'm like, I cannot understand what you're saying, and I'm trying to get out, and I'm like panicking, but very funny, very funny. We had a lot of fun moments with them, so. This was so fun because we got to practice sewing with them. This was just like a hangout night. This was not like we're teaching anything. We were just hanging out and sewing at one of the sewing shops that has been set up in the past. So that was so fun. I got to teach a few people how to sew. My mom loves pointing out that it was all the young men. She loves that. So that's that photo. I did teach a lot of young men how to sew that day, and I call that a win. So I love that. And then Miata, our friend, she made a pillowcase for Karen. Like, they're just so kind and like so hospitable, and just love that we're there. And they were always so eager to show their gifts of like so appreciative, which was awesome. And then this is just all our photos with more of Pastor Dway's family. The little girls are so sweet. They also took us on a little walk around their community and their town. It was kind of fun as you're like walking through, like more people are joining. We're like, do we even know this person? No, they're just like joining us. We're just like walking around the town. They took us to a rice farm and like a random farm, and we're on someone else's land, on their property, on their farm, and they're like, I want to show them what I do. Like, they're not like angry about it. They're like, oh, I want to show them like what I do. So they came out and they showed us like their rice and like how like the process goes, and that was so cool to see. I was like, this is so cool. Like, I feel like people in the US would not do this. So it was like they have so much pride for what they do, and they should, because they're really good at what they do. So that was really cool. And something I also wanted to mention with the sewing was that they also, a lot of them are like, they sell at like markets, they sell fruit at markets or things like that. And for the sewing, a lot of people also sew clothes, and they sell them at markets with the sewing shop, the sewing setup that we did. So so it's really cool that they make the feminine hygiene product like kits, and they can also make clothes and sell them. And it was fun to connect with them because I also make clothes and I sell them. So I was like, I'm just like you. Like, we like have such a big like overlap of what we do, and it was just like so cool to see that. So seeing the farmers and the market people was just so awesome. And then here, I'll play the little video. They're teaching me and Karen how to do it was like a dance, but like a schoolyard dance. It was like a patty cake type thing. It was no joke. I was sweating so much, and it was tough, but it was so cute. They are just so sweet, and that's again our little team with all of our shirts on. That's Alvin. He's one of the other ones. That's Joe's nephew. He was also one of our very helpful friends who came along the way. And yeah, it was just so fun to hang out with them and have like, they're braiding Liz's hair in this one. So sweet. And I learned a lot of patty cake games, and they would always make it that you would win because they just like loved being with you and loved spending time with you. So it was very sweet. Who's next? Yeah, the women's retreats. Yep. Nice.
So the main reason that we went to Liberia was to put on these women's retreats. We led 4 retreats in various locations, and the women of Liberia, as you heard with the history, they have been through so much. The men have too, but these women have, 20 years of war, Ebola, so many things, and so many of them have to provide for their families. It's very hard. They have this unbelievable resilience and joy that is just such a blessing and so wonderful. But we wanted to go and just uplift them, if we could, share with them, encourage them, pray with them. It wasn't so much that we felt like we were going to come and teach them things they didn't know, because these are amazing, wonderfully spiritual ladies. These were church ladies, Lutheran church ladies, in Liberia that were a part of these retreats. So this first group is from St. Jude's, which is the main church where we teach out of, work out of. It's a large church, a large facility, and it's wonderful to use. So these ladies are all from St. Jude, and they are, this is their home church. So we had wanted to have 20 people, 20 women in our workshops to keep it small, to keep it intimate, and 50 showed up. And we kind of knew that. We weren't too surprised, but we were ready for them. And it was such a joy. A lot of these women are from our teacher workshops, our sewing workshops, so we know them, and it was just such a joy to be able to work with them. And then we had 3 other workshops. So this one here was still at St. Jude's, but women from all around the area came to us. When we were talking with them, we would ask them where they were from and how they got here. And some of the ladies said they walked 8 hours to get to our women's retreat. Other ladies who were older than me said they rode on the back of a motorbike, which is like their taxis, for 8 hours on the dirt, dusty roads to get to these retreats. So this meant so much to them, and they came from so far and from these remote areas to be a part of this. And so that was such a joy and so humbling and so meaningful for us. So this group here, we did the traveling. They did too, but we went an hour through the jungle to Zlaytown, and that became our central point where ladies from that whole district came. 2 ladies from each of the Lutheran churches in that district came and were a part of our workshop there. And I don't know if he was the pastor, the leader of the district in that area came too, and he thanked us for doing this for his district for the ladies, which was so nice. And it was such a joy to, again, see these ladies from all these remote villages that we've not met before. So a lot of these ladies don't know each other because they're coming from all these remote places. And then this last one, this was from various Lutheran churches in Zwedru, smaller churches. And you can see there are a lot of Lutherans in Liberia, which is such a joy and so awesome. And a big part of that are these churches, but these church schools who are also teaching and raising up kids in the faith. So for our workshops, we spent a lot of time in worship and prayer. Our theme verse was Isaiah 61. Arise, Jerusalem, and shine like the sun, and the glory of the Lord is shining on you. They love to sing, they love to worship. So we did a call and response.
Can you hear it? It's a little quiet. I can't. As high as it goes.
They loved having that interactive music time. And we also, throughout the retreats, we would say, can somebody raise up a song? And someone would jump up and start singing, and then everyone else starts to sing and joins in, and they're singing in harmonies. Sometimes people just jumped up and grabbed instruments from around the church and started playing them. And again, a lot of these ladies, they didn't even know each other, but they would just do this and just go into worship together. And this is a small clip of one of those times. So you'll see Joe's in the background there, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit. He was the only man allowed. We shooed all the pastors out. Some of them wanted to kind of join us, and we're like, ladies retreat, ladies retreat. And but Joe was allowed to stay. He served as our interpreter. We started, of course, talking about God's love and God's forgiveness. And you'll see that we did a lot of hands-on object lesson type things to be able to, because there is a language difference. We speak English, they speak Liberian English, but there is the dialect, there are different words that are used. If we speak very simply and slowly, and they speak simply and slowly, we understand most of what's being said from each other. But we wanted to be able to, it was just better to have visuals and hands-on things that we would do. It was just more meaningful to be able to add that to it. So we did a lot of that as well. We talked about in Psalm 139, how God created each one of us with love and with care, and how we're fearfully and wonderfully made. We wanted these ladies to be uplifted and know how special and how loved they are, to remind them of that. Again, these are Christian ladies, but sometimes we all need to be reminded of that, and especially during hard times. Another part of our retreat, we shared our burdens. We talked about some of the challenges that we had, and these ladies poured their hearts out with their stories. They asked if they could speak in their native tongue, which is Kron, that's their tribal language, to be able to just really just pour it out, right? And to not have to be thinking or putting things into simpler words for our behalf. So that's where Joe was translating. And they would share their burdens, and we shared ours. This was, all of us working together as sisters. And then we took turns praying for each other, and their prayers were these beautiful, glorious, just 5-10 minute prayers, just all out, put the devil to shame, and just on and on. It's just these beautiful prayers, some of which Joe also translated quite a bit of for that too. And it was just so powerful. But we wrote down their prayer requests. We told them what we talked about there was confidential, and that we wouldn't be sharing that. But we wrote those down, and we continue to pray for these ladies, and it has that that bond that we have, and be able to share with that. But to be able to hear their stories, for them to be able to just share so openly, and to be able to relate at that level was so powerful. After we shared these burdens, we prayed about them. We talked about, we handed out these stones. Talked about how I had a big sack of stones, and how if you're carrying this, it's this burden, right? It's heavy, it's hard, makes life hard. And how if we set that down, it's like, oh, this relief. And how we need to take those burdens to the foot of the cross. And so you'll see, this is a chair with our little makeshift cross on it. And as part of our letting go, everybody took one of those stones and held it, prayed about their burden, and then moved forward and set it at the foot of the cross. We also talked about the gifts, the uniqueness, how God makes each of us special. And each of us have gifts and have a purpose that God gives us. And so we had this wonderful activity where there were all kinds of Liberian pictures from their landscape, the ocean, the jungle. There were Liberian families and farms and fishermen and sowers and families, moms, dads, kids, worship, churches, all kinds of things. And they got to go through these and choose what was important to them, what had meaning for them. And so they would choose these pictures and then make a collage and put them out. And it was kind of, one of the funny things was we had tape for them to use. And so we gave them, all these pictures and the tape, and they didn't know what tape was. And so it was so funny because we were kind of using it as a demonstration and showing them how to do it. We were broken down into small groups at this point. And so then they took the tape and they just pull it. And then they're trying to tape that on, and it's taped into the table and stuff. Or one of them, pulled it and then just kind of balled it up. It's I think, so we became the tapers. And so they would choose these pictures and then set them out, and we would come and just kind of tape them all down for them. And under their guidance, some of them would be like, wait, missed a spot here. Oh, okay, I'll get that. But so they made these collages. It meant so much to them. They were so excited to have these pictures. And then they got to share them with their small group, and then we had some share with the large group. And for them to hold up, and this pride that they had, to hold up these collages and say, this is the cross because Jesus is the most important thing to me, and this is about family, and this is, I'm a farmer, and that's what this is. I grow rice, and this what this is a picture of, and that's important, and I'm good at working in the marketplace. And you could just see, because we were saying, well, what are your strengths? How has God gifted you? And just they had this confidence and excitement to be able to share that, and about their family, about their worship, and about Jesus being the most important thing. And that was such a joy to hear their stories and to see them relate to this. And they got to keep their collages, and we did them too, and shared about ours as well. And then we talked about, we have God with us all the time through those hard times, right? And how we can rely on him. But God also gives us a gift of sisters, of other women, and for them, they're so community oriented, but that reminder of we have each other. And even though we live across the world, we're still praying for them, right? And so God gives us that gift of sisterhood. And we went through the Bible talking about different times, different in scripture, about women who were there and supporting each other and being there for each other and helping each other. And what a wonderful gift that was. When we ended the workshops, it's so fun. They just, a couple of the times, especially for the large one, all of a sudden they just started singing and kind of dancing and coming and surrounding us and dancing around us and taking pictures and hugging. And it was just this huge, joyful celebration. Just this chaotic, joyful, singing, wonderful, wonderful experience. And then one of them, and again, these ladies they don't even know each other, but I have a video of one of them, it became a conga line at the end where we had this celebration conga line. Joe, do you know what they were saying?
The Lord said we should come to him. The Lord Jesus Christ said we should come to him.
The Lord Jesus Christ said we should come to him. That's what they were singing. No, we didn't know, because they would break into these tribal songs, and they're so beautiful. And sometimes we'd be like, wait, what are they saying, Joe? What are we singing? And it was just how special, how beautiful, and what joy. Like I said, these women who have been through so much, have so much resilience, but so much joy to share. Liz is next. Talk about some other fun things we get to experience there.
Thank you. All right. Traveling through the jungle. So, for anyone who may have been at our, same as this, for the last time we were there in 2024, if any of you remember, the road is vastly different. Actually, two things are different. The road is vastly different, and we had a very different vehicle. So it was really a very different experience traveling through the jungle this time. It's always beautiful. But this time we had an actual flat road, whereas last time it was more of an off-roading, on-the-road experiment. And also, we had the privilege of being the first group who was able to utilize a newly bought vehicle, Trinity Roselle primarily facilitated the purchase of this new Toyota Highlander, I think it is. So we had air conditioning the entire time, which is a real treat. And nobody had to sit in the trunk. Also a bonus. We had seat belts for everyone. So it was really an exciting time. And you can see it's absolutely beautiful. This is just looking out over part of the jungle as the sun is setting. It's absolutely gorgeous from start to finish. This is a great, so one of the things that I love is the red. You can see the red dust from the red dirt and there we go. So this is Liberia in its essence. You're driving along on the road, just happen to drive by a herd of cows that kind of just wander around and they're gone. So one of the most fun things I think about Liberia is all the animals, and they're just out. You drive by them, you walk by them, they walk by you. And we also had the privilege of setting up our 5th sewing site in a place called Dwedgie Town. And a couple of the ladies here we had seen previous years and taught them how to make these hygiene kits, but it was in a different area. So now we were at their home turf. They do not yet have electricity in this area, but they do have a space where they can sew, and they sew primarily on a treadle, on a foot treadle machine. So this is us. We brought them supplies, we brought them templates, we brought them everything to make more of these hygiene products. So this is us walking our way through it, through the steps again, and I will wait till the next, but if you can kind of see, if you can kind of take note of the fabric that's sitting on the table. So typically when we bring things, where we bring supplies over to them, we don't include cotton. Cotton is part of our hygiene kit, or part of the materials that are needed, but their cotton over there is spectacular. It would be a downgrade for us to bring them cotton, so we don't. We bring them everything else that they can't find. But that also meant that we forgot to bring our own cotton. I should say me, it's on me. And so Karen very kindly allowed us to cut a nice chunk out of her very nice cotton skirt, and we were able to produce a hygiene pad. So thank you, Karen. There's Karen with half of her skirt. But it worked, hey, it worked. So we were able to do a little tutorial with the women, talk a little further about where they're at. They also do a lot of sewing for money, for selling in the market, and they make some of the cutest little clothes. Another thing I love about this picture, this is the quintessential way of carrying the little ones. And it could be for adults, but sometimes it's other kids. Sometimes there's little girls with babies strapped to their back, but I just love it. He's just hanging out, and I think it makes it just easier in general, but it's just such a fun, balance him on your back, tie him around your front, so. Yeah, so it was great to be able to set up another sewing site and continue that work. The women's retreats were amazing, but very glad to be able to follow up on that as well. And then while we were waiting for some other things to happen before we head home or head back to Zwedru, we of course had to get a eyeglass testing session in, which is such a great ministry, and I think it's pretty easy to do in general. I think it's going to kind of always be a part of Immanuel's ministry. So 10 people, 8 to 10 people, maybe we fitted for reading glasses, so it was really, really beneficial. Great for sewing. When they go down to sew and you can see them squinting, it's time for an eyeglass test. So, but several pastors, several of the ladies, a couple of the guys from our own group, we even got set up with reading glasses. So,
our last day in Zedru, we were given the opportunity to visit Mother Lucy's Lutheran School. It's a smaller school with 50 to 70 students. We each visited the classrooms, we read books, some of us sang. I think you probably figure out which one of us sang. But there was such joy inside the hearts of the children, and it was very evident that they loved to learn. I guess that's right. I just did it.
I'm slacking.
Oh, I went too far.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay.
I-
The free. Oh, no, I can do
Are you
that.
ready?
All right,
Ready
yeah,
to go?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm not going to hit the thing yet, but okay. The next day, we were blessed to worship at the Liberian with our Liberian brothers and sisters. We were able to get up and dance with the ladies at the worship service. Liberian women and men, they worship with their whole being. They just love their Father God, and then they want to worship. The second, go to the next picture then. Sorry. The second Sunday we worshiped in St. Peter's, Monrovia. For me, that was an extremely emotional worship. That was the site of where 600 men, women, and children were gunned down. They were thinking it was a safety spot, and they came in and they gunned them down. Outside the star there is one of the 2 mass graves that they have where they buried all of these people. There's windows that still have the bullet holes that they've kept so that they will always remember and honor what happened there. But they are happy, joyful people. It is it's a tight sitting church. So we were like very close to the pews, and it was at 2 hours we had to leave. John, I said, they're still going? Yeah. So we had to, because we were getting ready to leave, and so we had to leave. But they worship for 2 to 3 hours. They sing, they dance, and I mean, you are shoulder to shoulder with people, and they're very, very close. So it was a wonderful experience. So we'll move to the next. The last 2 days were added days. We were added to our schedule. I'm going to read this part because otherwise I stumble through. At the cost measure, saving measures. Flying out Sunday night rather than Friday, as we had planned, would lower our cost of tickets immensely. And I have to admit to you, at first, when I saw our new itinerary, I felt guilty about doing touristy type things. People had sponsored me, they had given me their money, and I felt I wasn't using their gifts properly. I have since come to realize that these days were necessary days. Before going, I did not realize that each one of us alone and all of us together at a team would have so much to process and so much to decompress from. The 4 full days of retreats, although they were a blessing beyond comprehension, were so physically draining due to the high heat and humidity. As they were sharing about doing the project with people, I was helping tape, and I felt terrible. Sweat was just pouring off my face onto the project. So they were wet by the time I was done helping them tape. But the other part that I did not come to realize is just how extremely heavy on your heart these stories would be. These women carry such deep and heavy burdens. And yet they are so joyful and so filled with God's love. But we needed to work through those thoughts and to talk through them and to release them. As a team, those days were good for us to be able to do that. The first day we stopped, and we were at the Tropicana Resort, and we went swimming, had some fun, laughter, shared memories, and we just all together as a team enjoyed the time. We got to go and see a gorgeous sunset. For me, it was like awe-inspiring. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm standing in Africa looking at the sunset over the ocean. And there was a couple times that I just would be so awestruck that I was in Africa. It was just stunningly gorgeous. And so we just had a wonderful time with our full team. I don't know, do I know that picture? I think so. Yeah. So in our here we went to the Lhasa Wildlife Sanctuary, and here this was our last day, and we saw where they rescue animals, and any injured animals. Many times, the Liberian people will take a monkey for a pet, and so they will rescue those animals and bring them here. So we learned a lot about how they rescued them. We learned that you can't just release a monkey, you have to wait till you have 10 and they make a whole family together and then they get released. They did have a pangolin, but it was out on a walk. I was like, I finally made it all the way to Africa, and they had one, and we still weren't able to see it. So that was probably the downer of the trip. But otherwise, it was very interesting to see how they care for the animals. I'm gonna go this. And this part I want to read again. We left a little bit of our hearts with the people of Liberia, and especially with those in Zedru. For me, it was the children whose open arms were always ready for a hug, joyful and smiling, with a woman who shared her heartbreak of losing her 3-year-old daughter and had no one to comfort at the time. With Helene and Faith, whose joy pours out of them, and through their teaching, they are equipping the next generation to succeed and sharing Jesus with them. With Mita Doris and Pastor Boway, who opened their house to us and fed us. With Mother Lucy, who joined us on our walk to the rice field, and with all the women of our retreats. Their love of God encouraged us, and how they were such strong prayer warriors, and how the Holy Spirit moved through them. I, along with my team, were blessed more than we could ever anticipate. We especially have part of our hearts with Lawrence, Elvin, and Frederick. These were wonderful young men who accompanied us through all our travels in Liberia. They became like sons to me, praying with us, laughing with us, and always watching over us and protecting us. And of course, I leave a large part of my heart with Joe. His love for these people is beyond comprehension. Unless you work with Joe, you will never realize just how much he loves these people. He is so inspiring to me. He shared a little bit of his story, but if you ever get a chance to hear his story, how God started this at a young age and brought him to where he is now, it just will give you goosebumps. So those are the things that I took away from Liberia.
I'm just going to bring the group up. I asked them to, we're not quite done yet, we've got a couple more things to share, but wanted to share some personal reflections. I asked them to think of either how this impacted them or just whatever, something to share personally as part of this, being a part of this team or part of this ministry. And what I did not do at the beginning was introduce the team, and I apologize for that. This is Rachel Ring-Smith, who also happens to be my daughter. I know most of you know that. And we have Karen Krause, Liz Schroeder, and Joe Boway.
I can go
Right,
first.
you go first.
One of the things that I took away was just how amazing and community oriented that culture is. It's just so inspiring. And we're so individual here, and we just think about ourselves and or maybe your partner or whatever, but it's all about community there. And it's a silly example, but I think it really illustrates the point well that when we were at that pool on the last day, it was so fun, and I was like, oh, it would be so fun if we had a ball or a toy or a frisbee or something to play with. And I was kind of bummed that we didn't buy one or something. And I was oh, other people are playing with a ball. I wish I would have brought one, so we could have played with one. And at one point, I'm in the pool, we're all hanging out, and then I'm in it, and now I'm playing with the ball with Alvin and everyone else. We're all just playing together. Now more people are coming. Now there's 30 people in this pool, all playing with this one ball, and a lot of people didn't know each other. It's a public pool, and I was just thinking about pools here and just in general, you would bring toys to a pool and you would play with yourself or with like your one friend or your child that you brought. Like you just be in your own little bubble. But like there, it was like, it wasn't my ball. It was like our ball. Like, oh, I have a ball. Like, well, I'll play with it. Like we all want to do that. So let's all do that. And that was just like so cool. It's like, it was such a small thing, but just really stuck out to me of how like community oriented and just like, they don't think about like, my stuff is mine and I'm going to hold on to it. It's like, it's ours and we're all going to be able to use it together and have fun together. So, and that shows their broader culture as well. So.
My question was, how have you grown from this trip? Well, most of you have heard my year-long struggle getting to this trip. So for me, it was to follow his call and to trust him more. This, of course, will be a lifelong journey that he will continue to work out. But I'm ever, ever so grateful to the Lord that he kept following me and kept pushing me to go because I would have missed out on one of the greatest adventures and opportunities in my life had he not just kept going, go.
So this was my third time going, and I think it gets a little different when you go back. Some of the newness wears off, and you know in your mind, well, it's going to be 90 degrees and 95% humidity. You know the cons of it. You remember and think, okay, it's less about excitement and more about there's work to do, there's things to do. But one of the things I really, really enjoyed on this trip was watching Karen and Rachel discover Liberia, and especially Karen with your walk through everything. It was magical, so magical to see, and to see you'd come in the morning and sit down and say, man, I did this Bible study, and the Lord just blew my mind. So it was so cool to see God blowing your mind in so many ways. But not just that, we knew Frederick and Lawrence and Alvin, but I think this is the trip where we got the most close to them. So to see them also kind of having their own, I don't know, evolution, I guess we'll say, alongside us, because we were more friendly. It wasn't all business, I think, whereas in the past it's felt like that. So I think for me the biggest takeaway is that God is like, I can still surprise you. You know what I mean? When you think, well, I know it all, and I know I didn't know it all. I'm an American. It's only been 3 times, But if you get into that sort of, I guess, cynical kind of mode, he just really blew it out of the water, just with my teammates and all the guys in Liberia taking care of us. So it was really wonderful.
You wanted to go last, right?
Oh.
I'll just go.
2 things for me. This is my 4th time going, and the depth of connection that we had this time was so different. We're teaching workshops, we're teaching them sewing, we're relating to them, we fall in love with them, we get to connect with them, but at this deep level of what is going on in their hearts and minds and just what they're actually dealing with. And some of the similarities that we have, these are moms, these are grandmas who are worried for their kids and worried for, different things. But it's at such a deeper level because we have different resources and supports that they don't necessarily have. That was very impactful for me. And the second thing was, now I'm gonna cry. Being able to have my daughter come, oh my gosh, what a joy. When we first got there, Rachel said, I feel like I'm at bring your daughter to work day. Because I'm there and I'm doing my thing and I'm connecting with people and I'm in my element, right? I just love these people, I love this place. And she was watching that and seeing that and being a part of that. But then I got to see her change from watching me love these people and love this place, for her to grow and love these people and love this place, and it became her place too. And that was such a joy to share that with her. So that was just a very special thing for me for this trip.
Well, time is fast spent, but all I have to say is this. you talk about the church where 600 people were killed. It was during the Civil War. And having the opportunity to represent you, to be sent by you to serve the people of Liberia is a blessing. And having them to go and see is a blessing too. But what I want, that got me ready, was to see close to 200 women pour their hearts out as to what they're going through was an eye-opening blessing for me that others would see, because this is one of the things I do every single year. Close to 6,000 families they come to me, and 90% of those families are women that come to me about their children going to school and the struggle they go through. And that's why you help to provide funding for those kids to go to school and learn about Jesus. So thank you for going to see the struggle the women go through, and now we're helping them to share the love of Jesus with their children.
So one of the best things, one of our favorite things was when we came back from Zwedru, we landed in Monrovia. So we're in the little airport here, you know, from the Cessna in Monrovia. And there was a song that Thank You, Jehovah God, Thank You song kind of came up in one of our workshops, and then we would be driving the car and Lawrence would just start singing it, and we'd all start singing it. It just kind of kept coming up. And I don't remember how it started in the airport, if one of us was humming it or kind of started to say whatever, but we're in the airport and one of us started singing it, and all the airport workers joined in singing this. And this shows you a little bit of the joy of Liberian, even in the airport. This day, thank you, Jehovah God, thank you.
So cute.
Thank you, Jehovah God, thank you. Thank you, Jehovah God, thank you. For you have saved my life to see this day. Thank you, Jehovah God, thank you. Isn't that awesome? This is the airport. There were other workers over in the back that were singing along too. It was so awesome. So, amazingly, in 6 weeks, we have another team going to Liberia. Usually we take a team every other year, but God had different plans. And I didn't know how it was going to work, but I trusted that God would somehow make this work. So we have another team going for doing teacher training workshops in Zwedru for the Lutheran teachers from all around the country are going to be coming to us, and we'll be doing workshops then. So Rachel Keener in the back is going to be on that team. She's a repeat offender. And Laura Dolak also is going to be a part of this team. And Joe, myself, and a couple, Pastor Mike and Kathy Wakeland from Joe's home church are going to be a part of this. And Lisa, who was from Trinity Roselle, has been instrumental in all the development for this team, but unfortunately at the last minute is not able to go with us. But we're so grateful for her, for all of her input and what all's happened. So it's happening again. And soon we'll get some prayer calendars out, and we hope that June 9th you begin praying alongside of us with this next team and seeing how God's going to work through them. Are there any questions that you have? I know we're a little over, but if you have any questions for any of us, I'd like to quickly take them. Yes?
Are there any, like, new or whatever religions going on over there?
Any new religions going?
Like voodoo?
Oh, voodoo religion. Any voodoo religions? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, you can't say voodoo, but the parents believe in, there's a God that controls the universe, so they would give something to their kids as a protection, but not voodoo that you put on people, but it's for protection. That's how they do it.
We heard some of it in the prayer requests from the women, like a husband who worships Satan or things like that, and you know, things like that, just for some prayers for.
Which happens here too.
Mhm. Yeah, so there's some devil worship and things that we were hearing about as well. Okay, any other questions? Yes, Sarah.
Was there an evaluation, or what was the response from the women at the end?
That is a good question. We didn't do an evaluation. I think that's kind of a US type of thing. The jumping up, celebrating, dancing around us, we took that as a thumbs up. But I don't know if you have any response, if you've heard any feedback about the workshops, or the, I'm sorry, the retreats.
Everything is verbal. They will tell you what they like and what they don't like, and 99% of the women cannot read and write, so it's kind of hard to say. There's a piece of paper.
Anything else?
I just want to say one more thing. If you are ever asked to go on a mission trip, take it to prayer. Don't fight him if he's calling you to do it, because it could have been a whole easy year before I left for me had I not wrestled with him the whole time. So it will be one of the best decisions you'll ever make in your life.
And it was a great decision for me that you went. I loved getting to know you. She was my preschool teacher when I was in preschool, so 25 years ago. So yeah, she was my preschool teacher. So getting to know her in this way was so fun and so joyful. Like I loved the team. It was just amazing. So yeah.
We're hoping to expand our offerings of mission trips because going to Africa is a big commitment. And so Boom is working on other opportunities that are closer in and perhaps less barriers. And so if you ever have an interest in either Liberia or other mission trips, let me know, put you on the list, and as we develop more things, but please always come and talk to me about it. We'd love to have you share in these experiences too. Thank you so much for your time and attention. We also thank you for your prayers and support. We feel those prayers, we need those prayers, and we see God's hand in everything we do there. Thank you.